people have stopped having babies at an alarming trend.
We're not having a baby.
Now you might think this is a good thing, but it actually might be the greatest current threat to our civilization. I'm Biko Konstantinos, and that's what we're going to talk about today. If you've ever been a baby, why don't you give this video a like? And if you have any concern for our planet and civilization, consider subscribing to my channel. I'm Aussie and I love Vegemite. Now, why have you guys stopped having babies? Now, isn't population just going to keep growing for many, many years? Well, according to the UN, population will peak around 2080 at around 10.8 billion and remain at that level until 2100. However, a report by The Lancet has a completely different view. Both this report from Forbes and this report from the New York Times reference the Lancet research that predicts global population will peak in 2064 at around 9.7 billion and then decline from there. Now, 2064 is only 44 years away. But guess what? Since that Lancet report was done in 2020, birth rates have gone even worse. And even the fact of COVID lockdowns didn't help one bit. So the reality is global population might actually peak way earlier, and this could have massive consequences to our society and way of living. Now check out Jordan Peterson's views on global population peak in this interview with Chris Williamson.
The biggest problem in 50 years will be that there's just not enough people.
I remember hearing you say a few years ago that you thought we'd peak at about 9 billion.
Yeah, we probably won't hit 9. Yeah, and I knew the stats because...
Think about how crazy it is to think that we might be living on Earth right now at a time with the most number of humans that are ever going to exist at one time ever.
Yeah, that's highly probable.
So with our current population around 8 billion means that right now we would actually be close to peak global population. That is a very daunting thought. Let's hear some more from Jordan.
It's like we fall off a cliff.
Because it's the same as everyone knows this from the pandemic, the R0 number. If fewer people are reproducing, next generation you have fewer people to reproduce as fewer people are reproducing, and it...
Yeah.
And
well, I worked on a UN committee, it's got to be 10 years ago now, to help draft the UN Secretary General's report on sustainable economic development. And I looked at population trends and first of all found, not that this is an act of genius or anything, that as soon as you educate women, the size of family shrinks precipitously, like below replacement. And that's partly because women have other options. That's a huge part of it.
We're seeing this play out.
Oh, yes. I mean, all the countries in the West are way below replacement. Korea's way below replacement. South Korea, Japan, way below replacement.
So we can see population growth is rapidly declining. But what's causing this? According to this Forbes article, falling fertility rates are mostly associated with increasing education and work availability to women and access to contraception. In other words, over the course of the last half century, women able to and choosing to have fewer children. But is that all there is to it? Are some people afraid there aren't enough resources to go around? Are others afraid of things like climate change? And what sort of world the next generations will be inheriting? Are others choosing not to have children due to financial concerns? We all know how expensive it is to bring up kids, and that challenge could get even harder with soaring costs of living. Let me know what you think. Either way, this trend only seems to be getting worse, and peak population could be much closer than we think. This chart from a BBC article shows you just what's happening with global fertility rates. It's extremely clear that global fertility rates are declining and at a rapid rate. And when you look at these projected figures to 2050 and 2100, the decline becomes even sharper. Now just imagine if global fertility rates dropped even sharper than these projected figures. So the population trend is clear, but isn't that a good thing that population's going to decrease? Considering the Earth has finite resources, wouldn't it be best if there was less people to use those resources? And wouldn't that make the Earth more sustainable long term? Here's one person who thinks that way.
Titan was like most planets. Too many mouths, not enough to go around.
One sharp mind who's very concerned about population decline is Elon Musk. In August this year, he tweeted that population collapse due to low birth rates is a much bigger risk to civilization than global warming. Now that's a huge statement by Elon Musk because global warming and climate change is said to be the most pressing concern by many leading scientists. So what are these risks due to population collapse and how could it destroy our civilization? The economic effects will be massive. We'll have a lot less young people and an aging population that lives longer and longer. In the 60s, there was 6 people of working age to every retired person. But today, the ratio is 3 workers to every 1 retiree. By 2035, it's predicted to only be 2 workers per retiree. So there'll be a lot less workforce age people to innovate, to make stuff, and there'll also be less people to actually buy stuff, which will mean a recessionary economic environment, but one that never actually ends. And then you've got all the healthcare and needs of the aging population. Here's what Elon Musk had to say about it.
Because it would be a sad ending, where the average age becomes very high and really the youth are effectively de facto enslaved to take care of the old people.
So which countries could see some of the biggest declines? Japan's population is predicted to have peaked in 2017 at 128 million, falling to 53 million by 2100. Now that's a collapse. China's population is expected to peak in 4 years at 1.4 billion, falling to 732 million by 2100. And Spain's population is also predicted to halve by 2100. Japan is leading the way in population decline, and because of that, it's like a test case for the rest of the world. In 2021, the country recorded 800,000 births, but 1.4 million deaths. As a result, the entire population dropped by 600,000. The fertility rate has decreased for a 6th year in a row to 1.3. Now consider you need a fertility rate of 2.1 just to maintain the current population. So Japan has an aging and shrinking population. Nearly 30% of the population is over 65 years old, and the decline in working age population has contributed to a labor shortage. Now check this out. Japan will likely see an excess supply of 10 million dwelling units in 2023. 10 million dwelling units! Can you believe that? We've currently just seen one of the biggest real estate booms over the past 2 years with the craziest speculation you might ever see. And now many countries are facing a rental crisis with rents going up crazy and some people not even being able to secure a place. But is Japan potentially showing us the future of real estate when population starts to decline? Who knows? Maybe housing affordability might actually improve. Now wouldn't that be a change? So how are we going to fix this global population collapse? Well, I'm going to turn on some music and you're going to do your duty for the future of humanity. I'm Vico Constantinos.